What's up, everybody? It's about that time. It's your girl, Sassy, coming back at you today. It's been a minute, so it's time to get caught up with each other. I'm so excited for today's broadcast. I'm going to play a little bit of music here for you while we get situated and we get everybody in the room. A little bit of music here for you. All right, it seems like everything is a go, which is awesome. Let me turn my speakers up. Want to make sure that everybody can hear. Don't want you guys to miss this extra awesome show today. This song is by Sleeping at Last. It's called Saturn. I just love this song. It's so beautiful and magnificent.
You taught me the courage of stars before you left. How light carries on endlessly, even after death, with sureness of breath. You explain the infinite, how rare and beautiful it is to even exist. I couldn't help but ask you to say it all again. I try to write it down, but I can never find shortness of breath. I'll explain the infinite, how rare and beautiful it truly is that we exist.
What's up, guys? How are you doing? Hey, everybody. We're back at it again this week. Woo! I'm so excited. I finally found a time to get on with you guys today. Man, let me tell you, I have had the craziest day. For real, for real. Like, I went into the store to do one simple thing and literally it took me an hour. And I had to go to like 4 different stores to find the one thing that I was looking for. So that like set me back today, but who cares? We're here now. How's everybody doing out there? How's your weeks going? Mine has been wonderful. Haven't had any real issues. It's crunch time, starting to get a lot of things going on at one time at work. We have a special time of the year that we get surveyed, and that time is coming up. So I'm going to be very, very busy, but I'm also going to try to stay communicating with you guys as much as possible. We do have a lot of things to go over today, some exciting things. I want to give some shout outs. I want to shout out to my mods. They're so awesome. They show up. But they never know when I'm going to be on. So I just really, really appreciate them. Usually with the wrenches, I know we had a question. I generally give mines out by special selection. And that is that they've been vetted before. They either are mods on other of my friends' channels, or they're somebody that I really like and I've watched for a little bit. In the chat, in other people's chats, and I feel that they are good and they are not going to just pick on the other subscribers. So they generally exercise caution when using their powers to zap people out. Generally, we don't usually have any issues in this chat so far. So I'm so glad that you asked. Stick around, because in the future we could be adding more mods. The more viewership we receive to our channel, the more mods we're going to need. So if you're somebody who has the availability to be on my live streams, I never say when I'm going to be on, just because I like to be spontaneous. I don't like to really plan a whole lot of things out when it comes to live streaming. The rules are generally gone over in the beginning. You know, we just have those few. There's no drama. We don't like drama here. We're all adults. We can talk to each other, you know, in a civilized manner without cursing and acting a fool. So there's no drama, no personal drama of any sort. There is no talking about other channels negatively. We are generally going to stay away from that. It's just not conducive to what we're trying to do. We're all about action, and we're all about getting things done in our community. Someone said I have a little bit of an echo. Let me see if I can fix that. I can see that my stream health is not looking so good. That could be a problem. Let's see. Let me know if that solved the echo problem. If it didn't, I'll try to mute another mic. The other one is no agendas. So like agendas can be anything from religious personal beliefs to just political stuff. We're not about that here. We're really trying to stay outside of the matrix, meaning that those things that don't apply to the new way of living on the flat plane, we just generally don't want that in the chat. We are going to have some topics that we're going to talk about, some of the current events that are actually going on in the matrix. So that's the only exception to that rule, is during that time. But generally, just not a good thing. You'll get zapped real quick for that. What else? I think that's just about it for the rules. We generally are not one of those channels where it's about negativity. It's all about the positive moves. So you'll get a warning before they do something. You'll get timed out, and you'll be asked not to engage in whatever behavior is being disruptive. And then after that, the mods will ban you. You can reapply to come back depending on the circumstances, but generally I trust my mods, so I'm just gonna go with what they say. They don't have personal agendas, because their agenda is the same as everybody's in F.E.C, which is to have a great time. So enough about that. No, I didn't forget about you, Angel. You told me to take you down, so I did. You said you weren't going to be around for much longer. But if you are going to be around, let me know, and we can make that happen. So, we have a lot to go over today, and it says that the stream is not doing well. I'm not sure why. I hope that it will pick up. We'll see. I hope it's not dropping too many frames per second. If it is, you guys let me know, and I'll try to get that fixed real quick. So we're going to move along on some of the topics so that we can get these things, get everything in. I don't have any plans except to spend time with you guys today. And so we have all the time we need to go over these things. And hopefully the stream will straighten out. I know that on a couple of other of my friends' channels, they had issues as well with their streams. So it just may be something with the area. I know we had some bad weather here in Texas today. So that may have something to do with it as well. But I'll just keep an eye on that. If it gets too bad, just give a holler in the chat, and we'll see if we can't fix that problem. Let's see. So generally, I follow the same script every week, and I add things to it. So today is going to be a really special stream, because we're going to be talking about things that we need to be doing if we want to move away from the system and start living off the grid, as well as the things that I found out about homeschooling and trying to move away from indoctrinating our children. So let's get started. So as far as activism this week, I had some really good conversations with individuals about the flat earth. Not a lot of them were receptive to that, and I only had one negative experience where the person was like, they don't care. And I was just about, I don't care either, but I, want you to look into it. I didn't really get a lot of good responses on Facebook this week, but I do have some people that actually looked into the information and have started asking questions, and I do have one convert this week. So that is great news. He's been following my pages for a while now. He's been with me for like three years on Facebook, and just finally decided to, you know, take me up on that offer and look up you know, the information and everything. And so it's been a wonderful experience. This part of the show for me is the most favorite, because I really love hearing about your experiences on what you have going on, and how many people you've told, and what your story is. How did you come to know about Flat Earth? And I think it's really special to share our stories, because we're all different and our stories are different, and how we came to know this truth is different. So if you have a story about how you learned that the earth was flat, I want to hear from you. I want to know what it was that finally sparked in your mind to say, hey, it's flat, and how you felt in that moment. You know, who did you tell? And you know, what did you want to do next? What was your next thought about, you know, finding that out? You know, for me, it was a life-changing experience. And it just expanded me in ways that I never thought it was. Like, I went from just wanting to focus on melanin people to now understanding that it was about all people, and all the race baiting and everything. None of that really mattered anymore. All of that just went away. It gave me that peace that I was always looking for, to join my other brothers and sisters and fight, you know, against the elites together with them, instead of us fighting each other. So it's been life-changing for me. And I really can't wait for us to compile all these stories, because I think it's going to make a great book someday, especially for people who are young. They need to know, and they need something that they can look at and look forward to in the future. And we're going to have a store, a Flat Earth store. So we want to provide content for that store from Flat Earthers. We don't want anybody else's content to be showcased. And so this is going to be something that we can do. You can start by sending me your stories to my email, and my email's actually in the description button. The other way is to just tell me of your story here, and then we'll go over it. So we'll develop a video log of your story that we can actually go back to at a later time to catalog it in the Flat Earth storybook. And so let me just talk about what I found out really about being able to educate our children outside of this crazy system. It's really a bunch of red tape. And the more I looked at it, the more pissed I got, and the more frustrated I got. And I was just like, okay, this is a lot more than I thought it was going to be. So I began looking into different websites. I began to look at ways that we could get this thing started, you know, before the school season takes place. And I did find a lot of websites that educators or parents who were looking to homeschool. I found a lot of websites for that, but there was an issue with websites with developers. There's not a lot of developers out there, and most of the homeschooling material is prepackaged and costs like a lot of money, bundles, like $626 just for one grade level. And that's quite expensive when you're trying to do something on a budget, and not everybody has that amount of money. If you think about it now, the public schooling, everybody goes to school, their children, for free basically, except they take the money out on the back end through taxes, through taxing everyone. And so that's how it's paid. So nobody has any out-of-pocket upfront costs that they have to pay for their child to go to school, unless it's like lunch money or things for sports and stuff like that. And so the problem with homeschooling is you have the upfront cost of teaching your child yourself. You have to think about the daycare opportunities while you're at work, and finding the time to actually homeschool your child. Then on top of that, you have to develop the curriculum, and the materials that are needed are actually written for globe earthers instead of flat earthers. So that option for us is kind of like out of the window as far as package deals, and trying to there's not a lot we're going to be able to use to homeschool our children that are going to be in line with what we know about the flat earth. So we're just going to be basically starting from scratch. And we're going to have to put a team together to be able to knock this out if we want to attempt to get something together for each grade level before school starts. It is a big undertaking. And I definitely am looking for others to who know about this or want to participate in this to come on board with it. Because it's just overwhelming, to say the least. I found a lot of really good things, but the problem is that it's going to not jive with what we know. It's just contradicts everything that we know, and it's all about beliefs. Like some of those packages have pre-science stuff in them, biology in them, geography, and with each of those subjects, the science is going to be geared towards theory and things unproven. So we can't really use a lot of that material. Now, the mathematics we can use a lot of. We're just not going to be able to use it in a scientific manner to teach our children. With the biology and things like that, they're still teaching evolution. Not a lot of people believe in evolution. At least I don't know a lot of flat earthers who believe in evolution. So that is something we would need to discuss as a community, how we want to educate our children and what we actually want them to know. We're moving away from beliefs and going with what we know. So we need to come together to develop a curriculum that can be broad-based for all children's grade level and learning capabilities, something we all are behind. So that would take some ironing out to figure out what we want to educate our children with. And then we have to figure out a model for what the flat earth is. It's just every flat earther knows that the earth is flat, that we live on a flat plane. That much we agree on. Now, as far as the shape of the earth, it's a different story. Some believe there's a dome. Some call it a firmament. I call it firmament, dome. They're interchangeable to me. Some people think that it's infinite and it goes on forever. I believe that it probably terminates. Some believe that there's land beyond the ice. I believe that there's probably land beyond that first layer of ice. The maps are all different. So there's one map that only has the outer ice ring. There's another ancient map that has a second ice ring. There's other maps that seem to point to pooling, where there's different puddles of land, and so like there may be other life forms. So these are all the questions that I came up with just by myself in researching schooling for our children. So at that point, I just kind of like stopped with looking at those things, and I did save what I have, but what we need to do is really think about how we want to educate our children. And I'm going to open a panel up because I really would like to discuss this. So if you're available and can get on the panel, I would love to hear from you and have you jump on with me. So give me a second to get that set up real quick. And I'll get you guys on here so we can talk about this. Because I find it very important that we start to think about the after effects. It's not just enough for us anymore to know that the earth is flat. We already know that. What we want to do is develop plans that are working models so that we can transition into something better and easier without having a breakdown in society. So if we can start to do those models on a small basis, then we can incorporate that bigger and bigger and say, hey, this is how we did it. You know, I'm not expecting it to all be looking the same from city to city, but that's what we want. We want it to be uniform, like little satellite places, to where if you move to any part of this great land, it would be the same no matter where you went. Kind of like when you walk into a Walmart, you know what you're going to get. So, yeah. The thing about it is we're starting from scratch, grassroots. And so we don't exactly have funding available or in place to see this thing through. But I'm hoping that there's going to be enough individuals motivated to get this started for our children. Hang on one sec, guys. I'm trying to get this Hangouts up. So, but I'm still super, super duper excited about doing this for our youth, because I feel like oh, I just realized that it's probably not doing it because I have the camera up and I'm using it. But that's okay. We're going to start a new conversation because we don't want any weirdos. If you're a weirdo, don't get up here, because you're just going to get booted and banned for life. Once you get banned for life, there's no coming back. So don't get up here and do something crazy and reveal yourself, because we don't want that. There we go. So just waiting for it to pop up so I can get the link. Let me go to my Hangouts. One second while I get this going. I'm not sure who that is that was trying to call, but give me a second here. It's kind of moving very, very slow now. I hope it doesn't freeze my computer up. There we go. Use that one. Just bear with me, guys, while I get this up and going for us. It's like the more things you open, the more it goes slow for you. Instead of trying to close this one, I don't know why it opened. Let me leave that one. And make sure. I'm gonna close it and open another one because I don't know what this thing is doing. I definitely don't want to be broadcasting something I shouldn't. Okay, let's see. Okay. Whoops. Why did it close the whole thing? That's not good. I'm still here, guys. It's just having a mind of its own. It actually dropped my live stream. I wasn't sure who that was that came on, so I tried to close that window and it completely closed the entire Google. So I had to reopen it. All right. All right, it's finally up. Now let's see if I can get it to go. Yeah, I think that's what's causing it to lag, is the Hangouts bar. But that's okay. I'm gonna work around that. No big deal. So here comes that link as soon as I can get back to the chat window. Oh, I'm here with you guys. I see what you typed and everything. Just trying to spam the chat right now with the link. And trust me, I don't have anything but the bare minimums open. It's just one of those things with the stream. Sometimes it works perfect and other times it just totally acts up. There we go. I appreciate you guys' patience. Seems like every time I start my stream, it just does whatever it wants to do. When I start, you know, moving things around or change something or add something to it, I'm pretty sure it's because of it's a small laptop that I'm using, so now let's see if I can get OBS to do what it's supposed to do. All right. I can't even get it to close a window. Good grief.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get the video going, but it is not. I'm not going to be posting the video of us because it's going to freeze up basically. So, welcome to the panel. Who do I have with me?
Anonymous.
Anonymous. Hey, how are you? I think you were on.
Oh, overpaid. Underworked.
I think you were on Dred's.
Just like everyone else.
I think you were on Dred's stream the other day, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay, yeah.
And I remembered you because I think out of all the Flat Earth community so far, what listening to you was doing something.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we're talking about community. Like, that's right.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong, putting up billboards is fine, and spreading the message and getting it on different platforms of Flat Earth is fine. But, well, the rest of life, and we're still all stuck in the beast matrix, so how do we matriculate out of that?
Right.
So what you were saying made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I that's what our community is basically about. We're going to maintain that stance because we want to develop plans that are going to work for the aftermath of what's coming. And the sooner the better we start working on it, because we're so far behind with everything that we can't afford to have any missteps or to waste any time on, drama. Now, this week I did see Brother Sanchez. He addressed another flat earther who was speaking ill about the community. And, I think at times that is going to be necessary in the future just to keep the peace and keep it headed the direction that we want it to go. Did you hear about that? I think it was Curious Something.
No.
Well,
No, I didn't hear anything about.
The reason I'm bringing it up was because not everybody notices the same thing, but I did notice that it was kind of racially motivated, and then he premised it with starting a garden and all of this other stuff and showing people how, but you don't start out negatively and then say something encouraging. Either you're for the community or you're not for the community. Either way, saying something negative and then trying to follow it up with something positive is just about the community is just backwards to me. But I understand where he was coming from, but at the same time, Flat Earth is not about that. It's all about moving forward, moving progress towards the positive. Anything that negates that is a no-go. They're saying you have a little echo, so I'm going to try to isolate your mic and see if we can't get rid of that echo.
I switched over to headphones. Is this better?
They should be able to tell. I'm just trying to open up a window and see which mic. I have two desktop audios, so I'm going to close one and hopefully they can hear us both still after that.
Well, I've got some storm fronts that have been coming in all day, and I'm on satellite. whatever we call satellites. So it might actually be my internet connection.
Oh, I think it's I have an auxiliary mic open that I'm trying to shut. If OBS will do it, but it's not even responding. Maybe I'll try turning it down and
Well, our first step was not to have social security numbers on our children when we had them. So anybody planning on having children, few things. One is, of course, have them out of the country and then fly back. But another is to simply have a midwife that won't, that a child has been born. So that gets around the whole homeschooling. If the state doesn't even know that you have a child, then you don't have to notice the state and set up a homeschool or do any of that. You're dropping out on me. I didn't hear the end of what you just said. Well, I had posted a link. It was something that we discovered years ago, ic.org, and you'll find people doing permaculture and off-grid living that they're broadcasting it so that you can go and visit to see how they live. And most of them live off-grid. But when you actually move into that area, you'll discover like 10 times as many people are doing it and have their own communities. Like, they're just not advertising it. So there's plenty of people that are already on page. We moved to the Asheville area in North Carolina for that very reason. Yeah, your audio is a little spotty on my end, so I'm just I'm trying to wing it, trying to get the gist of what you're saying, but it's really not clear on my end either. Loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear. Oh, nope, you're dropping out. It's really strange. Sometimes you're perfect, spot on, and sometimes like the packets drop and phone reception.
Okay, what about now?
Well, say something at length.
Okay, so like there's people you said that are living off the grid that is perma, you said, and that you posted a link. They're just not advertising it. So are they not enrolling their children or there is a term for it. It's like sovereign citizenship where you don't register your kid or anything like that. Is that what they're doing?
No, they basically are just not addressing the state. They have their children, they're off grid. The midwife doesn't report it, or it's like I said, within the community, they just have their children like we used to before we had, you know, like a specialist. So they're just pretty much living off grid. And when they have children, they just have children. And there's a family story, but I'm going to keep it short. They're 14 head, and none of them have birth certificates or social security numbers.
So how does that community work exactly when it comes to gainful employment? Now, are they completely self-sufficient and living off the grid?
Until now, I have yet to find a system that's completely off grid. So there are people that are still using money, which is what this goes back to. But in this area, there's something called work trade. You can work an hour, and that's as though it's like $10. Now you can get the $10, or you can get like a little piece of paper that says you work $10 for someone that everyone knows, and you can trade those papers locally. So it's kind of like Ithaca hours in New York.
Oh, okay. That is interesting. I would love to hear more about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. If you go to IC.org, you might actually have somebody close to you that you could go visit and see what it's all about, and get sort of a firsthand experience, especially the permaculture aspect. It's like gardening on steroids.
Wow.
It's a rather easy philosophy. You don't really need to know anything about how plants grow. You just mimic what nature does. And let it take care of itself. Partner plants and all kinds of ways of doing it, and recovering the water as it rains to have like the maximum flow through your garden. I mean, they're doing all kinds of stuff in this direction. And like I said, IC.org, I posted a link in the chat. They have a community right next door.
You said IC.org?
Yeah, IC.org.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something I want to look into and bring to the viewers, and try to implement that wherever we're at. I was thinking that we were going to try to start small and do something here in our homes to start, so that everybody can get kind of on a small scale of what they need to be doing to start growing their own food and get their mindset ready for doing that. So I'm going to have a small demonstration here in a little bit of what we can actually do now to start growing our own food and training ourselves to be sufficient. I think the ideal, people have a kind of preformed ideal of what this is going to look like, and I don't think people are ready for that kind of shock that it's going to be, but it does need to happen, and we do need to discuss it. So it's like, I think it's the perfect time right now while everything is still fresh and sort of pliable to start working on that now rather than later.
Well, I mean, there's one community that I strongly resonate with. It's called Wild Roots, and they'll basically teach you how to live like colonials. They don't have any electricity, no power tools. They don't even use nails. They'll show you how to make dowels and drive a dowel through a board, and you can build your structures that way. I mean, we've got people out here, the Firefly Gathering, where they'll teach you how to hunt, how to take the deer skin, make it into clothing, how to make your own bow and arrow. I mean, it's really, patient is everything. And if you have a lot of people with a bunch of different skills, you can learn a lot to become as independent as you possibly can.
Oh, wow. That is really neat and interesting. I'm super excited about that. I'm ready to do, I'm one of those people that is like, yeah, let's do this now and in a hurry.
Well, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, so the changeover isn't going to be in a day either. So I think the best thing is for everyone to pace themselves. And I know it sounds silly, but baby steps. I mean, if you've never done any kind of gardening, then just start maybe with a few potted plants and see how that works. Maybe like oregano and thyme and those kinds of things. And then you work your way up to a garden and just some basic. Oh, please.
Uh-oh. Let's see. You still there?
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. The phone's right next to the laptop, so. What was I was going to say something about, and so if you have a whole community of people like this around you, some of them are hippies, some of them are preppers, some of them are just old traditionalists. My son decided to stay out after dark for many hours. He's 9 years old and they're in the middle of the mountains. It was time to call the law to see if we could get a search party up. And so he ended up coming back. And I was on the phone with the sheriff who was confirming before he sent a unit out. Hey, and I was a little upset, so I said, what's the law say about beating him to within 1 inch of his life? And I shit you not, without missing a beat, the sheriff says, well, just don't leave any marks or bruises.
Wow. See, we need to return to that kind of living. Because...
Well, I mean, it made me think that the system, there are people just like us that actually work for the system and know it's corrupt, and so they're going to do the best they can as sort of like the middle ground. And the community gets of going independent, growing their own food. Then you're going to have people in office that are also probably doing the same thing. So locally, at least, it all goes in that direction. The one thing that my county hasn't been able to do is get around the pasteurization of milk. Just to raw milk I can find without going to a farmer direct and just sort of saying, hey, well, but I can pay you for it. Almost like mafia, like we're drug dealing here. Hey, just give me some raw milk and I promise you, I'll just leave like this. I'm going to leave some money here on the table. I'm going to take that milk over there, but I'm not buying it. That kind of thing. So people that are looking into, all of the ways to get away from the processed foods and the pesticides.
Yes.
So location is everything. And like I said, if you go to ic.org, you may actually find somebody relatively close to where you are and discover that just because they're advertising, you might discover 10 more communities right around them that are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, because I say my future husband is going to be a doomsday prepper. There's that's the requirement and standard at this point, is that he be a prepper, because I definitely am not savvy in that way. I'm a military brat, so I know a lot of things in that regard, but as far as living off the land and things, I've watched for years, on television, how to do things and stuff like that, but as far as actually doing it is a different story. Now, I have planted some community gardens for some of my clients, and so I have hands-on experience in doing that, but anything besides that, like building your own shelter or a place to live, I have not done. Now, I can put a few things together, like from IKEA or Wayfair or Walmart, but that's nothing compared to building your own space. So are you in between that, or are you still on the grid?
My circumstances have changed within the last 2 years, so we ended up having to move into a house, it's still a remote location, but it's on grid. And I have a mailbox again. I haven't had a mailbox in 5 years, 6 years. So it's just kind of new. I haven't had internet. Oh wait, I've had internet 6 months now. Last time I was online was in 2011.
Dang.
Yeah, I missed a lot. I really did. I was like, oh wow, flat Earth. Who knew?
Right, right. I've always wanted to live that way. Like, that has been my main goal, was to buy a nice little country house or cottage, or, you know, an old style, you know, plantation southern home, and somewhere off in the middle of nowhere where there's no 911 and no ambulance. Okay, if you get hurt, you're just dead, and that's it. You know, and just barricade myself in with a huge garden, and you know, my next neighbor is like, I can see them coming for like 20 minutes before they get to my house. That's how far out I want to live. You know, I've always wanted to do that, but, you know, I'm 40 now, so I've got some time to play with to make that happen. But it seems like with Flat Earth, that is going to be coming about sooner rather than later, because I'm all about action. I want to get out there and try it, you know, see how it's gonna go. But at the same time, I don't know that I'm ready to give up like the amenities, you know, internet and things like that, and you know, running water, and you know, how I've seen it like on Discovery and things like that when they're prepping, and they recycle everything. I don't remember if they had running toilets or not, but I don't know how much of that we're actually going to be able to do. It'd be pretty shocking.
Well, we just kind of jumped into it feet first. We didn't prepare to do it at all story, but one of the very first things you discover is well, I'll just plug the book. The book is called Humanure.
Humanure.
It's part of the natural cycle. So if you're hooked up to sewage, city water, or if you have a septic tank, there's a valuable resource that you have, that you produce every day, that you're just kind of wasting. And so there's a way to use that to fertilize, because of transmission of disease. But for the most part, as long as you follow some very basic sanitation practices, yeah, I mean, it's all doable. But the more momentum you build, the more you want to do. And about moving, if you're talking about a remote location, if you go anywhere rural, especially up in the mountains, you'll discover a lot of old abandoned houses. They're just falling